It is a Sunday night. It's time to talk a little local sports. How are you? I am Brett Rump. This is the Sports Rush. Yes, we're still alive. We're still hanging out on YouTube every week. You might be able to catch us on X or on Facebook. And everywhere you watch us, you can also comment. Love to hear from you. Make sure if you're on YouTube, subscribe, click that subscribe button, and make sure you click the bell so you get the alerts when we do go live. Welcome to the show. Welcome to a Sunday night. A lot of talk about IU, Purdue. We'll talk a little Notre Dame football. We've got a special guest, Dylan Sinn from the Journal-Gazette, who covers all of it. And so we're getting the source when we want to talk Indiana, Purdue, Notre Dame, football, basketball, doesn't matter. In fact, yesterday ran into Dylan Sinn with the Boilermakers and IU, both out of town. Dylan Sinn was covering the Mastodons, who were playing at home at the Coliseum. It was homecoming weekend. And so I ran into Dylan yesterday, and we invited him on the show. He's going to be joining us coming up in just a few minutes. Also, Adam Lundy, a little technical issue to get things started, but he's going to be jumping on here in just a minute. But our weekend started out at Carroll High School. How about the Carroll Chargers? They pulled off a huge upset of the Snyder Panthers boys basketball team. And so now you have Southside kind of in firm control of their own destiny, because Snyder, who was tied with Southside, although Southside had the edge in the tiebreaker, those were the only two teams with one loss, and then Snyder gets beat, and you've got an upstart Wayne program that all of a sudden has got caught fire. Maybe Wayne is going to make a run at Southside. Wayne still with just one SAC loss. You've got Bishop Luers in the mix. You've got a Snyder team still in the mix. In fact, anybody with losses or less still has to consider themselves in the running for the championship. But what a game we saw Friday night. Jack Van Order, the hero for the Carroll Chargers. And I know Brody Fisher had the couple of big buckets, and he, I think, had 17 points. But Jack Van Order hit a three at the end of the third quarter. Now, remember, this was a 4-point lead for the Carroll Chargers. Snyder hits a three, cuts it to one. And they feel pretty good about themselves with just 3 seconds left in the third quarter that they were going to go to the break between the third and fourth quarter, only facing a 1-point deficit. And then Carroll gets it into the front court really quickly, and Jack Van Order drops a long three on him that makes it back to a 4-point lead. And then the first possession of the fourth quarter, Van Order hits another three. And with the back-to-back triples, it goes from being a 1-point game to a 7-point game. And it seemed like Snyder never really recovered. And so Carroll got the huge upset on Friday night. And a big shout out to the Carroll staff, Dan Ginder, athletic director, but all of the staff that works those games, works the press table, works the ticketing booth, whatever it might be, because they had basketball at home on Friday night. They had sectional wrestling starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday, which meant their doors were opening at 7 a.m. on Saturday. They did wrestling all day, and then they welcomed Yorktown for more boys basketball on Saturday night. So what a they're probably all asleep right now, probably not even awake. But that was a huge game. Also, Wayne getting the win over Bishop Luers, and that this Wayne team, real upstart basketball team. And I know there was a huge game last night in the NE8 with New Haven pulling off the 3-point win over Columbia City. So, I mean, we've got some great basketball. I don't care if it's the local colleges where we've got St. Francis women are just absolutely blowing the doors off everybody. But you've got great college basketball. You've got great high school basketball. There's no reason not to get out and enjoy a basketball game. All you got to do is bundle up a little bit, because for some reason we've got Polar Mageddon, or whatever you might want to call it, because it is dang cold. And anyway, we welcome in our buddy Adam Lundy, who apparently is prepared for the cold weather. What, did you turn off the heat, or what are you doing there all bundled up?
Let's see. My office is not a room that we use that often, so to save money on heat, the vent is not open in here.
Okay.
It's a little chilly, but I've got my basketball blanket here, nice and bundled up. But like you were saying, man, I didn't mention this during the Friday night post-game show, But I just wanted to say that it's a good feeling when you're not necessarily sure who's going to come out on top in the league when there's a log jam. I would always prefer a log jam at the top of the league, a competitive league, whether it be the SAC or any of the other ones in our surrounding area. So good stuff, good stuff. Although I know now we have our girls champions and everything, but lots of stuff to still be decided on the boys' side.
Well, and I think we've got to talk girls basketball since you brought it up, because how about the game of the night? I had a chance to talk to Lainey Knoll,
Yeah.
the talented sophomore from Homestead, and they were still talking Saturday when I ran into her and her dad, Brad, about that crazy game on Friday night. 3 overtimes. Homestead prevails over Northrop to win the Summit Athletic Conference Championship. A lot of credit to Northrop because they did not want to concede, and they played hard all the way to the finish and ended up being Homestead with a 3-point victory. So the Spartans get that into the trophy case, the SAC championship. Now they've got their sights set on bigger things. And this has been such a talented group with Gabby Helsum and Maya Epps and Carly Mollering, and we can go right through the line of Whitney Ankenbrook. I mean, this group has been so talented and been together for 4 years. 3 years, they've pretty much been the starting lineup, and they've not won state. I mean, they've not made it to state, and so this is their final go round. Last year, Warsaw was the team that got there. Went and played in the state championship game, and now Warsaw comes back. They're good again. And Jocelyn Bricker, one heck of a player, put up 30 against Homestead, but Homestead beat Warsaw during the regular season. You have Norwell, who beat Homestead during the regular season, and both those teams could be in the Spartans' way of getting down to Indianapolis. So it's going to be a fun postseason on the girls' side, and we're going to have a good one for 1380, the fans' game of the week, coming up Friday night. Jaden Taylor makes his official high school basketball broadcast debut, I believe.
As far as I know.
He wasn't here a year ago. So he'll make his high school basketball broadcast debut filling in for me on Friday night. And presumably, based on if the favorites advance, you're going to have Whitco against Bluffton, 2 top 10 teams. I think, is Whitco number 1 in the state right now, or are they number 2?
I'm not sure.
I think they're either number 1 or number 2 in girls basketball in Class 2A. But that game's going to be the second semifinal at Woodland on Friday, and we'll have the play-by-play coverage of that one and then head off to the Haven Pizza Hut for the post-game show. But, it's been an exciting year. Congratulations to Norwell, girls champion of the NE8. They ran the slate, perfect 7-0. Congratulations to, and I don't know the list, Eastside. Was it Adam? Eastside, Fremont. Well, who are the 3 teams that we don't know?
No, I'll do the info.
We had that on our pro post game show.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the other conference? ACAC. And I think it was Bluffton, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
ACAC.
That sounds great.
So congratulations to the conference champion. Because girls basketball now, regular season done, postseason starts on Tuesday around the state of Indiana. Once again, if you got any comments, go ahead and fire away. We already got a couple of comments that have come in. It's Brian, of course. What a difference a night makes. Comets win 6-0, and today they're down 3-0. And looks like you're sitting in an igloo, Adam.
Burr. Yeah, it's
not me. I got my trophies in my bookcase behind me, so it can't be. Got to be you with your blanket.
Hey, at least it's sports
cap and your blanket.
At least it's sports themed. I'm keeping with the theme here. But by the way, I did pull up the northeast corner, and it was Fremont, Eastside, and Fairfield all at 9-1 in conference play.
I was heading in that direction. I just hadn't gotten there.
Exactly.
I stopped short of making a mistake because you were looking at that.
Right, and we don't want to discredit anyone. So yeah, congratulations to all the winners.
Hey, by the way, before we get to Dylan Sinn, who's joining us coming up here in just a few minutes, I want to talk to you about my idea because people have started to notice my tweet, and I had a couple of people ask me about it yesterday. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think it should become part of the official stats. In fact, I saw it today on a couple of college games I was watching. Players drive to the basket, and they're either trying to draw contact or they're getting caught when they drive throwing up a garbage shot somewhere in the vicinity of the basket because if they hold the ball, it's travel. If they throw the ball, they'll throw it away. So what do? They throw it up toward the rim, hope for a prayer. My proposals don't count that as a shot because that isn't a shot. A shot is when you're looking at the rim and you have a legitimate chance of making it. You're just driving and getting bumped, throwing it up at the basket without looking, or worse yet, you get caught in the air and you got nothing you can do with it, so you just throw it up at the hoop. And I'm talking about guys shooting like 10-foot finger rolls, where they're scooping it up there, trying to hopefully catch some iron and save a shot clock. I think those should be turnovers. To me, those are sacrificing a possession with the basketball, no different than if you just turn the ball over by throwing the ball aimlessly out of bounds. You're throwing it aimlessly at the backboard or at the rim. And so to me, I said, why are we crediting, giving guys a shot, which ultimately means very little in the whole season. You have a handful of those. They should be charged with the turnover. The team should be charged with the turnover because really you're giving the possession to the other team. The only way you get saved is if they throw the ball up and it actually is rebounded, if you call it a rebound, by a teammate. And in that case, it's not a turnover, but it's like making a really bad pass that someone bails you out and someone saves it, right?
I don't know.
So
I mean, are we
I
gonna make
think those
every
should
missed
be
shot a
turnovers.
turnover? Make every
I
missed shot a turnover.
I feel like it should be more penalizing for guys to throw up a garbage shot that's out of control, that has no chance of going in, that's a total prayer, hoping to get a whistle and get a bailout. And to me, screw the shot. Now, don't give them a shot because then you give the other team a rebound, right? That's not what it was. That was a shot that gave the ball to the other team, just like a turnover, and it should go as a turnover. It should be noted, just like in the stats. It says bad pass, turnover. It should say dumbass shot, turnover, so and so, because we see them all the time. Stupid crap being thrown at the basket that has no chance of ever going in. And we're just like, oh, he's 0 for 1, and this guy just got a rebound.
Well, make sure you use all those colorful words in your letter to the rules committee. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Stupid ass shot. That's what it is.
Put that in the IHSA rule book. No.
You should have heard what I called it after I had a couple of beers yesterday because I'm not even a drinker. I went out, had a couple of beers, and I was calling it something too. And I don't think that was the language I was using. It got a little more colorful. But I'm such an old school. Grew up on Bobby Knight, old school basketball, where I am like Mr. Fundamental. I don't like shot clocks, and I know we're going to get it. And I know everybody seems to outnumber me every time we bring up the shot clock. I'm not in favor of it. Everybody else tells me how archaic I am. I'm a dinosaur by not wanting a shot clock. But I believe basketball is kind of an art form where there's fundamentals involved and there's strategies involved. And I'm like, why are we handicapping our high school team, treating them like they're the elite players of the elite? The reason you could have a shot clock in the NBA when you started the shot clock in the NBA is because you had all great athletes and all superstars, and they had no problem finding a way to get a shot up within 24 seconds. They were fast enough, they were skilled enough, they could do it. We've got some teams that aren't as athletic in high school basketball, that might not be quite as skilled, and it might take them a little longer to run an offense to produce a shot. And I just don't like those teams being forced to have to take a shot out of their offensive rhythm, which might actually speed the game up and give an advantage to your opponent when maybe you could have the advantage because you could play a little keep away. You could make the other team play defense. I know, Adam, from my history of playing high school basketball, and that was back when we had to take horse and carriage to get to the game. But
Right.
I remember when we played, there were teams where they would start bitching to each other, the opponents. They would complain with one another because they hated playing defense for 30 or 40 seconds. They hated it. Okay? They were all about give me the rock and let me go. And we slowed them down, made them play defense, and it pissed them off. And so I come from the old school where you shouldn't have a third party dictate what the pace of the game is going to be between two skills that may have widely different skill sets and talent levels. That's okay. We've made Dylan Sinn sit in our green room and listen to all this crap. But,
I'm glad you got it out, though.
I had to get it off my chest. My weekend's not complete unless I can get this off my chest.
Right.
Let's go ahead from the Journal-Gazette. We want to bring in sports writer extraordinaire who covers so much. It is Dylan Sinn, everybody. I don't know how we did that, and I don't know if it worked, but it was
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Welcome, Dylan. It's nice having Indiana and Purdue both out of town where you're not chasing them around the country, so you could actually enjoy a Mastodons game yesterday. And I thought it was a really good bounce back for the Mastodons. They lost one that they really needed on Wednesday. And, the tough thing when you're in a tight race and you're positioning near the top of the conference, you have a game that you look forward to because you get a chance to get payback and then you don't get it. It's, to still be thinking about that one and forgetting about the next one. And Robert Morris came in after the Dons took one at the finish on the road at Robert Morris. And I thought this is going to be interesting because Robert Morris is coming in just like the Dons felt. They went against Oakland a few days ago. They wanted to get things even against the Mastodons. But overall, I thought the Mastodons handled the challenge well and got a nice win at the Coliseum yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was really impressive the way they battled because that's the thing is that they came into the game. Robert Morris is a bigger, more physical team in the paint than PFW is. That's just kind of the game they want to play. And so it would have been very easy for PFW to just kind of hang out on the perimeter and be like, well, if we make enough threes and we'll win anyway. And they didn't do that. They took it to them. I really thought they matched the level of intensity that Robert Morris plays with. They matched the level of physicality. And they didn't win the rebounding battle, but they didn't lose by so much that they got run off the boards. I think that was kind of what they needed to do. They did a really good job of doing what the game demanded of them. And I also thought that it was those three guards. It's Hadnot, it's Craig, and it's Stevenson. Those guys are all really, really good at creating off the dribble. They're able to get into the lane, and most defenses just don't have an answer for all three of them. And then Robert Morris went zone to try to deal with it, and they just got in the lane and kept kicking it out for open threes anyway. Just really, really impressive all-around performance on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I thought the zone kind of stymied the Mastodons a little bit there, and that allowed Robert Morris to come back late in that first half. But part of that was personnel. You had the change of personnel and how you aligned because you had foul trouble on the bigs. Once they got to the second half and they were able to play their regular rotation, I thought the Dons were much better. But, the Horizon is one of those leagues, and Adam and I were just talking about how much fun it is when you have conferences that are all jammed together where one game could swing you 4 spots in the standings. We're seeing it in the Summit Athletic Conference in the boys' side, and the Horizon is that way. Up until the last game or two, one game, you could move from 2nd to 8th place. I mean, now you're starting to get a little separation, but it's kind of fun. Were you at I can't remember if you were at the Oakland game.
I was at the Oakland game as well. It was a big PFW week for me. I was at the Oakland and Robert Morris men's game. Then I was at the women's game against Detroit Mercy this afternoon.
To me, Oakland has all the pieces that you want to assemble try to win a championship. They got the point guard, a veteran point guard who can score and can distribute. Got a pair of different bigs. So you got 2 rebounders, 2 guys that can post up. You can post your 4, you can post your 5. And then they've got the slithery driver, the guy that's 6'6" and skinny and just seems to be able to slither right down the lane to the basket. I mean, I think they've got a really complete roster. The question about Oakland is their depth, especially when they come in without a guy, one of their starters who was out hurt. But my question is Oakland's depth. They don't like to play more than about 7 guys. But overall, that's a pretty good basketball team. And they've had a couple of good games with the Dons. This one, in fact, neither one felt like a 9-point game because they were so close and then somehow there was separation at the end. And that's what we saw in this one. It was normally it was like a 1-possession game, back and forth, a lot of lead changes. But at the end, Oakland pulled away.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. That game was really close the entire way. I think it was 12 lead changes in that game. I think that the Mastodons took the lead twice in the second half and really had a chance to kind of extend, give themselves a little breathing room, and couldn't make the big shot when they had it, right? And that was the kind of the frustrating part about that game for PFW. Was you're exactly right about Oakland. They're a very good basketball team, but PFW could easily have won that game if they made some of the open shots they created. The offense they ran was very crisp in that game. They gave themselves a lot of looks inside and outside, and they just couldn't knock down quite enough of them to win the game. But you like the process, like John Coffin likes to talk about the process. Their process was really, really good in that game. One of the better games we've seen from them. They just didn't knock down the shots at the rate they normally do. Obviously, they did a lot better at that against Robert Morris, but it was a good game, and you chalk that one up and say, I hope we see him a third time in Indianapolis.
We've got to talk Purdue and Indiana. I'm going to start with Purdue since they got the win today. Is all, healed for the Boilermakers? I think it's pretty simple. I think for Purdue, now, they got to take care of the basketball. There's a lot of different things you can talk about with, but the most obvious, Fletcher Lawyer, he hits shots and he's producing and contributing efficiently offensively. Purdue's a much better basketball team. Without Fletcher Lawyer, there's times they struggle to figure out where they're getting their points. He just adds that element to their offense.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to being right. And obviously, Matt Painter would tell you as well about the rebounds and about the turnovers. You have to give yourself extra possessions and do all of that. Again, the process, right? But Fletcher Lawyer is such an important piece of this offense. When he's knocking down shots, it's really hard. It's really, really hard because you have either Braden Smith coming off a screen, or you have Trey Kopp and Wren down low, or you have Fletcher Lawyer in the opposite corner. And when you have all 3 of those options available to you, one of them is going to hit. And when Fletcher was not knocking down shots for a couple of weeks there, it was like, well, now one of those options is closed off and there's less space for Braden and Trey to operate, right? And so getting him back on track today, I thought that was a huge game for them. Obviously, people are going to talk about, well, it's Maryland. They're no good. Who cares, right? But I think that really mattered just from a confidence standpoint because it wasn't like Fletcher wasn't getting open shots, right? Like the offense was still running well and he was still able to get open shots. He just wasn't knocking them down. And so just for him to see a few go in there in a stretch, maybe that kind of unlocks something from him. And that's what Matt Painter has said is that when he has a tough stretch, he'll generally come back with a really hot stretch right after it. And so we'll have to see if that is something that kind of can get started today, maybe with the performance that he put on with 29 points.
Yeah, he was 7 for 10 from 3 today. But, there's a lot that happens. It's not just the missing shots. But when you're taking threes and you take about 9 or 10 of them a game, every time you miss, it's an opportunity a lot of times for a transition with the other team. Long rebounds lead to quick transition going the other direction. You don't have a chance to set your defense. Everything changes. There's also a certain bounce in the step. Doesn't matter. It's human nature that when you just put 3 on your opponent, when you go back on defense, you feel better about yourself. And it's not just the shooter; it's everybody. And so there's a lot going on that when you make it, and they got to take it out of the net. That's always a demoralizing part of basketball. Is we just gave up points. We got to take it out of bounds. And there's always that extra 2 or 3 seconds that allows a team to set their defense. there's a lot that goes on when you're making threes. And Fletcher Lawyer did it today. I mean, he was pretty special. Braden Smith, he's pretty much always special. And he's going to become the all-time assist leader in college basketball. I got to ask you, though, about this win, because you brought it up and said, oh, it's only Maryland. So I guess that's my question. Purdue gets a win they really needed. How much does it mean for the Boilermakers? Does this get them past their little funk there? What was it, 3 game?
Yeah, 3
Does it
games.
get past their funk?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, right? And we'll have to wait and see until next week, because I do think that the way they played was very encouraging, right? They crashed the glass, they shot it well, they moved it, they did the little things that a winning team does that they hadn't been doing for the last couple of games. They've been doing it in spurts, but not for 40 minutes. That was something that Matt Painter had been talking about, was he needs guys who can do it for 40 minutes. And Purdue did that today. So you can say, well, it's just the opponent, but they went out there, they didn't just win by 2 or 3 and scrape by. They went out there and took it to them from the opening whistle. And that was what Matt Painter wanted to see. So it's as encouraging of a sign as you could possibly have had. But now you need to start stacking these games again. They were stacking these games in December and early January. You have to get back to that before you go into March here.
How do you rank the Wagler, the freshman performance from Illinois against Purdue? I mean, that's got to be one of the all-time greatest freshman performances in Mackey Arena history.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. All-time, I think it was an all-time record for any opponent in Mackey Arena. The degree of difficulty on some of those shots. I don't think they did a terrible job defending him, right? Like he obviously he got some shots that they would have liked to have had back, but he made some that he had a hand right in his face. And that's what Purdue's defense is kind of about, is, hey, if you're going to make them, that's great. More power to you. Most guys are not. And that was it happened to be a day where they had a guy who was just making everything, and he was special on that day, and that's enough to lift you to a win. He is a really darn good player, and Illinois has a chance to go a long way in the NCAA tournament because of it.
But how far does Purdue have a chance to go? Do you still have questions, and what are those questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's the consistency, right? Like they've done it for spurts this year. They did it for that 9-game win streak there. I think they still have a very, very good team that can go a long way. The question is, are you going to have good shooting nights for multiple games in a row? And if not, as Matt Painter always likes to say, can you beat a good team when you're not shooting the ball well? We haven't seen a ton of that from Purdue this year. We've seen a little bit. We saw it against USC. They went on the road and won that game despite not shooting the ball very well. But can you just really, really be solid for 4 or 5 games in a row? We haven't quite seen that from them on a regular basis this year. So we need to see that more. I still think this team has a ton of talent. I think it has a ton of options. I think it's really, really deep, which will help them in March. But we need to see more of it as we get into February and then March here.
Indiana gets the win over Purdue. I think that shocked a lot of people. Didn't see it coming. Then they followed it up with a pretty determined effort to get a win on the road at UCLA. How should IU fans feel about their Hoosiers right now?
Yeah, I mean, they should feel as good as they have all season. I think. I think that the win against Purdue was great because they executed for about 38 minutes before kind of letting it get away there at the end almost. And then the win against UCLA was great because that is absolutely a game that a lot of teams would have lost. You let that get away in the final minute 50 of regulation, up by 10 with a minute 50 left, and you end up going to overtime. It's like, okay, well, here we go again. And the resilience to come out and to keep fighting and going possession by possession in a game where you could not take a possession off. You needed to be ultra physical and locked in every single trip down the floor on both ends. Indiana was able to do that for 2 overtime periods after it looked like they had it won. I was really impressed with the way they responded. Obviously, they have a lot of work to do in late game situations. They need to be able to break the press better. They need to be able to shoot free throws better. But the way they're playing right now is as well as they played all season. Getting Nick Dorn hot from 3 is giving them that third score with Tucker and Lamar. And it really is a team that seems to be finding itself here as we get into the important part of the season.
What is the X factor for Indiana? I would have said Tucker DeVries would be the obvious one, but I'm just not sure. I'm not completely sold. Here's what I think about Tucker DeVries. Great career at Drake. Never saw him at West Virginia. He's playing big boy basketball. To me, He's a 6'7" guy that can rebound, that can hit an occasional three, score an occasional bucket, try to defend, average defender. To me, you've got John Conchar in a Hoosiers uniform. And I'm not sure he's a first-round draft pick in the NBA, not sure what's projected of him. I think he's a good player because, I love the heck out of John Conchar. I think he's a good player, and he does a lot of things well. I just don't know that he's the star you can lean on because I don't know that he can create a lot of his own baskets. I think, we saw Wilkerson doing that most of the time in the game against UCLA. But what is with this IU team? What has to happen for them to reach their potential, where they're at now, where they want to be? And I think they can still be an or an NCAA team. I think they can get there. I don't know about you, but I think they can get there. They kind of put themselves behind a little bit, but I think they can make up the ground. I think they're talented enough to be considered an NCAA participant. What has to happen in your mind for that to happen?
Yeah, I absolutely think they are an NCAA tournament contender right now. I think if the season ended today, they'd probably be in. We'd have to see, but I think if they have a couple good weeks here, they'll really put themselves in good position. I do think that the biggest thing that needs to happen is that Nick Dorn needs to continue to play like a 15-ish point a game scorer, right? Because when he is providing that extra punch, when he's hitting threes, when he's getting to the rim off the dribble, when he's really stretching the defense, that takes a lot of the pressure off of Tucker. I think that is what you talked about there was really important because Tucker has not been the scorer at Indiana that he was at Drake or even at West Virginia. He's had to get it done in a different way. And I think there was a couple of games there where he was really he was struggling to find his identity as a player. And I think he's found it now. I think he's more of a playmaker. He's more of a facilitator. He's more of a rebounder. He's had 10 rebounds 3 games in a row against some pretty big front lines. And so I do think that his game is evolving within the confines of the team as the season goes on. And if Dorn can be that second scorer, that frees DeVries up to do everything else. And I think that is what Indiana needs to continue to happen as the season goes down the stretch. Keep getting the ball to Nick Dorn, have him keep knocking down shots. You're going to be in good position because that offense is going to hum.
Kind of feel like DeVries has to have somebody else on the court, maybe even a couple of guys that force defenses into decisions on double team. And that if he can be on the court with those kind of guys, he becomes a lot more effective. He can get a rhythm three. He can, cut to the basket, get a feed cutting to the basket where I think he's better than if he just gets the ball on the perimeter and has to create on his own. And I think Wilkerson is that guy. Not sure that there's another guy out there that I would trust to be that guy.
Yeah, I think that is kind of that's where Indiana is right now, is they're looking for that third guy, right? And Dorn has been that guy for the last couple of games here. He's been really, really efficient. He's getting downhill more. Like for a lot of the season, he was mostly just a shooter, and teams were kind of figuring that out. But now that they're really coming out at him, pressing him on the perimeter, he's been able to get to the rim a little bit and make some really nice plays going to the rim, and that'll open up some more space. So that is where Indiana really needs him to be that second scorer, be that other guy to really open up space for Tucker. Because you're right, he's not going to create a ton just straight line off the dribble when he's squared up with the defender, right? But if he gets the ball on the move with a little bit of space, he's going to be able to make a play for you, either scoring in the lane or finding a guy off the dribble. He's got really good court vision. He finds guys off the dribble. He finds guys cutting to the rim. And so if you give him a little bit of room, whether it's with a screen or whether it's because someone was out of position elsewhere, he's going to find a way to make a play for you.
We've got to talk Indiana football real quick before we turn our attention on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and talk a little Irish football. But, of course, Indiana gets the national championship, and it took 2 years of great success, one regular season loss, and a national title. But I think eventually the country has bought in to the Indiana Hoosiers and Curt Cignetti. It took a while, but I got to tell you a great story. I remember talking off the air, private conversation with Don Fisher a couple of weeks into fall practice, Curt Cignetti's first season. And talking about football, and of course they were coming off a couple of bad years under Tom Allen. Don Fisher give him credit because he hasn't seen what a lot of good football programs look like in his years. So I don't know how he judged this, but he told me Indiana is going to be a really good football team. Indiana is going to be a really good football team. He told me. He said he went to a couple practices, never seen anything like it. Discipline, the way they approach their work, structure. He told me this team is really good. And I thought, Don, 50 some years of drinking the Kool-Aid, it's finally affected you, brother. He was right. There's something different about he preached that Kurt Cignetti was going to he says, I've never seen a coach like this. I've never seen practices that were this effective, run this well. He said, this is an impressive football team and a really impressive coach. And he says, they are going to be a much better football team than people are expecting. Now, he didn't say this team could win a national title, so I can't give him too much credit, but he did see it coming. But now that they've gotten there, okay, they're not going to sneak up on anybody. They're not going to be disrespected. Everybody's going to prepare for Indiana differently now. And they maintain it.
I don't see a reason they can't, right? And I think we have to kind of define what maintain means, right? Maintain does not mean they go 16-0 and win the national championship every year.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it does. Yeah, every year. Come on,
was
we're not
a
lowering
very
the bar.
That's right.
We got a lot of years to make up for those years that IU stunk, man. We're not lowering the bar a bit. No, one-loss seasons, fire the guy.
That's right.
Now,
Kurt Cignetti would say, Kurt Cignetti would say no self-imposed limitations, so we're not going to take it off the table, right? That's the idea. But can they maintain some level of conference title contention? Absolutely. National title contention, we'll have to see, but I'm leaning toward yes, right? They are recruiting is improving as they're going. Every time they win, it's kind of like more and more people get interested in this team and wanting to play for them. I thought they did a really good job. I think people have not really realized, because there's been so much discussion about, well, they're so old, right? This team was so old. It was so experienced. They just got a bunch of 60-year guys, which isn't really true. And the reason we know that is because they have 13 starters coming back next year. Like I know that some of the best players are gone. I know that Fernando's gone, and I know that D'Angelo Pons is gone, and Mikhail Kamara and some of those guys, but they got a lot of dudes coming back next year from this team.
An IU recruit. He was a sophomore, and he was one of the stars of the late season and postseason.
Yes, absolutely. You could have 4 of the 5 starters back along the offensive line, right? And Tyreek Tucker back on the defensive line, and 2 of the 3 star linebackers back.
And Tucker's already announced he's coming back.
Yes, Tyreek Tucker is back. Carter Smith has already announced he's coming back. He could have been an NFL guy. So, and then you short up with guys that I think are going to be really, really good out of the portal. Like, I mean, I cover Notre Dame, so I think Joshua Burnham, the defensive end they got from Notre Dame, that guy's a really, really, really good player. And they got a bunch of guys like that who have a lot of experience and have played a lot of football for the third off season in a row. You're bringing in guys with proven levels of production, that what Kurt Cignetti wanted. So I don't see a reason they can't maintain a really, really high level of success. Obviously, to me, 16-0 is probably not going to happen again, just because I'm not sure if it's going to happen for anyone again for a while. It is a really extraordinarily special team this year, but they're going to be darn good again next year. I think we can pretty much bank on that.
Well, if you look at their schedule, I think it's an easier schedule than what they faced this year.
I can see what you're talking about, for sure.
At Iowa, at Oregon, at Penn State, it seemed like some of their biggest games they had to go on the road and play. And so next year, I think they've got Ohio State's their biggest game, and that's going to be in Bloomington.
Yep. And that game is going to be interesting because they could be, based on the schedule, they could very well be 6-0 coming into that game, riding a 22-game winning streak, with Ohio State coming to town in what could very well be like a top 5 matchup. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it were a top 5 matchup. So that could be an incredible scene down there in Bloomington.
You done your homework on Josh Hoover yet? What kind of quarterback is Indiana getting?
Yeah, I mean, I know as much as most other people do from having watched just a tiny bit of film, which is that he's extremely accurate. He gets the ball out really, really quick. They run an offense that seems to be similar to what IU wanted to do this year. I don't think he's quite the same runner as Fernando was, and obviously Fernando was not a great runner, but he was an effective one when he wanted to be, as we saw in the national championship game. So I don't know if Hoover gives you that much when he's moving out of the pocket, but he's not nearly as statuesque as Curtis Rourke was, so he's a little bit better there. And obviously just a ton of experience. 3 years as a starter and like 9,000 passing yards, like 70 touchdowns. He's a guy who knows what to do with the football. It's the same kind of thing as Fernando, where there's question marks about his game, and including he throws a lot of interceptions. But IU was able to iron those out with Fernando. They're obviously really good at developing quarterbacks. It's the track record of the type of guy you want to bring in.
I got to ask you, I don't know if you've uncovered this, but Mendoza was incredible at the back shoulder throw. Was that an Indiana and a Shanahan thing, or was that a skill that Mendoza brought and they incorporated it into the offense?
No, I think it's an Indiana thing. And the reason I think that is because Curtis Rourke did the same thing the year before. Curtis Rourke was really darn good at back shoulder throws, too. I think part of it is that Elijah Surratt is maybe the best back shoulder receiver I've ever seen. Like,
Not
obviously,
now. Becker,
yeah,
Becker might
Becker's
be
really
now.
good too. Becker's really good too. But Elijah Surratt for 2024 and a lot of 2025, those back shoulders were going to Surratt. He was really, really good at them. And they found both Rourke and Mendoza found a willing target in getting the ball to him in that way. And then Becker was able to come in and do the exact same in the championship game. I think it's an IU staple. I think you can expect to see more of it going forward because it is a way to get over an athleticism gap. I'm not saying that IU is less athletic than every team they're going to play, but there are certainly teams that have guys with more stars at corner than IU has at receiver, and that's a way to get past it because you're kind of using the corner's leverage against them.
Yeah, that was the strategy quite a bit. If that corner turned to run hip to hip with the receiver, that they automatically went back shoulder, and Indiana was really good at it. All right, let's go up to South Bend. I don't think there's pressure on Marcus Freeman, but certainly a lot of disappointment surrounding Notre Dame this year, not making it into the college football playoff. And it brings us to two questions. One, what happens if they don't make it again? But number two, does Notre Dame have to join a conference?
Well, number one, the first part of that is I think it would be a significant disappointment if they didn't make it again. I think they're bringing back enough talent, especially on that defense. Is like obviously you bring back the quarterback, that always helps, but especially on defense, they're bringing back a ton of talent and along the offensive line that they feel like they should be, if not better than last year, at least as good, which was a darn good team, right?
And they'll be loaded at receiver.
That's yeah. I mean, that's the question, right? Is that they should be able to have. They have Greathouse back. They have Faison back. They brought in several dudes on the outside, and they've recruited pretty well at that position. So you only need one or two of those young guys to hit for it to be a really, really good offense. And they have the pieces to make a really deep run in the playoff. Not just make it, but make a really deep run. And so not making it at all would be a really big disappointment. In terms of joining a conference, I don't think so. I think that this past year was a little bit of a special situation where they lost the two biggest games in their schedule right away. You win one of those, you're in, you're fine. I like that a bounce one way or the other against Texas A&M goes the other way, and they're in the playoff and probably playing in the Rose Bowl against IU, right? So I do think that they have every path to the playoff that they need. They're recruiting well enough. Their schedule this year is a little bit less difficult than it has been in the past, but they haven't had any trouble scheduling games really. Like for all the talk about that, it hasn't really been an issue. And the schedule will be a lot more difficult if Wisconsin or Michigan State was any good, which they usually are. They're just not right now. So I think they're fine where they are, and they're recruiting and playing well enough that it hasn't been an issue yet.
Why are we not going to 16 teams?
That's a great question. I think it's because the Big Ten wants one thing and the SEC wants another, and they have to agree before we can get any kind of expansion. Those two conferences that kind of control just about everything have to agree on a format going forward, and they haven't yet. The Big Ten wants basically 24 teams, and they want play-in games. They want the automatic bids for the Big Ten, four for the SEC, two for the Big 12, two for the ACC. They want all that. The SEC just wants basically what we've had the last couple of years with a couple added teams at the end, right? So they're a pretty far way off, and I'm not really sure what the compromise is unless someone backs down. And right now, neither conference is, and so we're just going to stick with 12 for another year. It's a pretty big failure of the process that these conferences are so far at odds and they're so dug in that there's no compromise to be had. But that's where we are right now.
All right, Dylan, always enjoy having you jump on with us, man. Appreciate it a whole lot. I know kind of a rare off day, and here you have to spend 30 minutes of it with us, but appreciate you. You always have great stuff. Follow Dylan at the Journal-Gazette. Where can they follow you on social media?
I am at Dylan Sinn on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and always following along there. So looking forward to being back on. Thanks for having me on, as always, Brett.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Dylan. Dylan Sinn joining us here on the Sports Rush.
Fantastic stuff as always. It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk to Dylan, so glad to have him on and get some of his thoughts on everything.
Reporting from the huddle in Bloomington. I mean, he really does. He stays right on top of everything. So any question at him about IU, Purdue, we didn't get a whole lot of Purdue. Little basketball, not a lot about the football.
No. Maybe next year will be a little brighter, but I've yet to
call us
see
a
any
bandwagon media because got to win a few games to earn our chat, baby. We we'll pay attention when you win a few.
Yeah, you got to win a few though, at least. And oh man, it just stinks. I want Purdue to be good. I want both of those teams to be good because then you can actually have a fun rivalry too. You know, when Purdue and Indiana get together, you don't want it to be a stomping like it's been now. So yeah, get back to competitive for the old Oaken bucket.
What is Ryan talking about on his comment here?
I believe they were talking about the Indiana UCLA game, the one where they fouled out.
Don't like how offensive players use off arm.
Oh, that was back when you were talking about your basketball complaints, about the guys.
Oh, I know what. Oh, he's saying that they're pushing off. Or
Yeah, push-offs, basically, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander-esque.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, that's supposed to be a foul.
Yeah.
And another comment came in, and appreciate every comment that we get. Says, Warsaw Lady Tigers are ready to make another run to state.
Perennial power.
Means they are healthy. I know they had one or two players that were missing when they played Homestead. Homestead won that game, 15 points?
Mm-hmm.
So
let's see. Yeah, Rick also said 24 teams in the college football playoffs is crazy. We'll probably eventually get there to 24.
Trying to think, we've got 68 that make it in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Field of four.
First four, right?
Yeah.
68 teams. There's 364 total teams in Division I basketball. And so I know you can do that math in your head. What's that percentage?
64 out of 364?
No, 68 out of 360.
I can't do that in my head.
Oh, okay. I figured you had that nailed.
What's 68 out of 364?
It's probably like 18%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of guessing.
It's 18.7 if we want to do round decimal. So good job.
I was close.
Good job.
Okay, so 18.7. Do this. What is there? 112, 114?
Something like that.
College football playoff teams, or the FCS?
Yeah.
FBS. In the FBS, there's like 114, 115 teams. Give me 18%. What's that come out to?
Let's see. That would be, it'd be at like 1920 for 18%.
Okay, so by percentage, fewer teams are making the postseason playoffs. Now the difference here is you've got the bowl games, but those are kind of like the NIT and the College Insider, those things. Because you've got other places that there's postseason. It's just a one-game postseason. It doesn't have a trophy. It's just the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the postseason tournament. So a higher percentage of teams are making a postseason of some sort. whether it's a bowl game or whether it's actually part of the college football playoff. The question is, do you think there should be a fairly equal percentage? If so, 12 is not enough. If you think that there's already enough teams, and of course, there's reasons college basketball adds all those extra spots. We would see in college football, it would be heavy with the power conferences, much heavier by percentage than it would be for basketball, because basketball still has the 30 some automatic qualifiers that are conference champions. But I think 16 to me is a max number. I think once you get past the top 16, you're starting to invite teams that have no chance to win a championship. Basketball's a little different. You don't have teams that have a chance to win a championship, but you have teams that have a chance to have a dream run where they maybe win a couple of games and get to the second week.
Yeah,
And
it's just not the same when you get some of those, fringe teams in the college football playoffs. It's not the same as
when
fringe
you only
teams.
need 5 players and you need a couple of them that are playing really at a high level. I mean,
Yep.
think about Jack Golke.
Yep.
He didn't do much of stuff. He was above average shooter, but slow, not athletic, just a guy that happened to get hot at the right time against the right team and made some insane shots, led Oakland to a win over Kentucky. And so with only 5 players on the court, different game than having to put 22 players out there, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. We're not even counting special teams. And matching up against the Ohio States of the There's just not enough players to go around in some of those teams that are 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. I think 16 to me would be the max number I'd be comfortable. I think once you get past that, it's watered down too much.
Yeah.
And all you would have if you had to have games, and again, the buys would have to be worked out. And then the question is it a advantage to have a buy? Because what we've already seen in this 12 field is there is not an advantage to having a buy. Indiana is the only team to get the bye in 2 years and win a football game. That tells you how valuable the bye is.
Right. So, like you said, and I just think it would lead to like you said, watered down quality games and just not what you want to have on your CFP product as far as what you're putting out there for viewership. It just wouldn't be good. I think you would see more games like we saw from like JMU and Tulane. Now, those guys made it in by being the conference champions, but again, those fringe teams that are just good enough to get into the CFP are not. They don't make good quality games against the higher level tiers. It's just too much of a disparity between 1 and 16 as far as college football playoffs go.
Shout out Miami.
Miami. Why are we shouting out Miami? Indiana whooped them. No.
Not Miami and Florida. I'm talking about Miami. Are they the Red Hawks now? What are they?
Yeah, Miami of Ohio Redhawks.
Undefeated.
Yeah, man.
One of 2 in the country. I think they're 22-0. I've been saying for a month and a half, next week they're going to get beat. I thought they'd get beat by Team X, Team Y, Team Z. I keep saying they won't get past Toledo, and then they win. Pretty unbelievable run. Now, the one thing they didn't have to do is they didn't have to play Power 4 teams. Almost every mid-major has to play Power 4 teams to make their budget. They didn't have to go on the road and play teams from the Big 12 or the Big 10.
Right.
And so all they have played is some good-level mid-majors. Also, shout out to St. Louis. Mastodons got whooped by them. But for anybody who thought that was a bad night for Mastodons basketball, that was an experience for Mastodons basketball, because they saw what a truly elite basketball team looks like.
Yeah,
and St. Louis is now 21-1.
Yeah.
And 9-0 in the A10. Very respectable conference. And they just beat Dayton Friday night by 30, actually by 31.
What would you do for Miami of Ohio? Would you give them an automatic bid, or do you still want them to win a MAC?
Man, well, it wouldn't be an automatic bid if they don't win
Right.
the MAC. It would be an at-large.
That's what I mean.
They're definitely an at-large, even though they haven't played the schedule with a lot of quadrant ones. They've
Mhm.
proven they deserve a spot. They can play them in the tournament if they're not going to play them in the regular season. But they're winning conference games is not easy. Winning conference games when you've got the pressure of an undefeated season next to your name is even more difficult. Now you've got the big fat target. Teams have you circled. They're ready to take
Right.
you on. They're like, you're coming to my place. We're going to be the ones to give you that first loss. And they've handled that pressure everywhere they've gone. And they've gone a couple of tough places. So I give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah, and
Also,
go ahead.
we're giving shout outs, man.
All right, shout out time.
Maria Marcasano and Purdue Fort Wayne women's basketball.
Huge win. Well, not huge win, but a big win today.
No,
Good
when
numbers.
they started their week, they got a good win on Tuesday against Robert Morris. Robert Morris is a really good basketball team, and they beat him by 14 points. And then they came back today and smoked like a salmon Detroit Mercy. 95-66.
It's Titan on the menu tonight for dinner, but yeah, no, great win today by the women Mastodons.
Titans on the grill.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see who led the way. Nelson, I know, had a good game. But you have 25, 18 from Krashevets.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Again, I spent like 2 minutes with her trying to learn how to say her name.
That's one of those tough ones.
Krashevets. Well, and then she admitted that American pronunciations of letters is different than it is.
Right.
So she said, Krashevets. So I would say if you're pronouncing your name, it's Krashevets, because you have a little bit of a roll of the R. A is not an A, it's an A. Krashevets.
Mm-hmm.
Lily, I wish you were listening right now because I think I just nailed it.
No, but
worked half a season, and finally, but she had 18 points. She's really come on. 7 of 9 from the field at 8 rebounds. Really solid performance inside.
Yeah.
And Riley Best stays hot. 17 more for Riley Best, the freshman. They got contributions from everybody. 6 points, 5 points, 7, 4. I mean, everybody contributed in that win today.
Yeah. They shot 50% from 3 as a team and out rebounded, had 5-0 blocks. So yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, trying to see that game was so physical yesterday. 4 guys fouled out, never quit. That's IU UCLA.
Yep.
Because you had to overcome the guys that fouled out. All right.
Yeah, a couple more comments. Let's see. We got Mr. Vegas. He was letting us know that Illinois beat Nebraska 78-69. He made some money on the +2. He wanted to know how good you think Nebraska is.
I think Nebraska is very solid. I doubted them, but then I've watched like three or 4 games here over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm impressed. They've got more at Nebraska than I thought, and but they're a team that I wouldn't be shocked if they go in as a 3 seed and then get knocked off by a 14 in the first round. That wouldn't shock me. But Nebraska has a lot of similarities to Miami. They're at different levels, obviously,
right.
but the way the rosters are constructed with the shooters, the 3-point shooting, some of their athleticism, the matchups. They're very similar in their way their rosters are constructed.
Yeah, and I agree. And I don't think that the loss to Illinois today necessarily doesn't mean that they can't compete later on in the season in reference to Nebraska. I just think that means that Illinois is definitely a serious team to be considered with after we saw their wins over Purdue and now Nebraska.
Yeah, and Rick pointing out that the Mastodon women hit 50% of their threes. And Bess was 5 for 7, and Alana Nelson was 5 for 11. Ella Riggs finished 2 for 3. So, yeah, they got it done. And this is a team that Coach Marcasano has said probably not as good a shooting team as last year's. Today they were. They hit 50% of their threes, and the players that they count on shot the ball well. All right, we got to wrap it up.
All righty.
Anything else happening with what do you got this week? We got Mastodon's Coaches Show Tuesday.
Yep, Coaches Show Tuesday.
For the Dons Wednesday.
Yep, big game on the board with you.
Third straight home game.
Yep,
before going on the road. And the two roadies are not easy. They go on the road for 2. They play at Wright State and at Green Bay. Those are going to be 2 important games. Mastodon sitting all alone in third place right now in the league. Green Bay got knocked off by Wright State. And so the Mastodons are going to have to take care of their own business head to head. The way the schedule's set up, Mastodon's in third, Wright State in first. But both of those teams should be a little concerned because they haven't played each other. So somebody is going to lose 2 times between those 2 teams because they played twice in February. It could be each team taking 1 loss. It could be one team losing twice. But Wright State won the trip to Wisconsin. They beat Milwaukee a couple nights ago and then beat Green Bay today. So with 2 losses, they're clear of the field. They're in first place. Oakland got a runaway win. They were actually behind with like 9 minutes left, and then just dominated the last 9 minutes of the game and won by 14 or 15 points, I think it was, over Northern Kentucky. So Oakland stays in second. Dons are in third. Starting to get a little separation between third and fourth. Got to be in the top 3 the way the Horizon has set up their tournament.
Yep, want that home court advantage when the tournament comes around.
Yep, but the top 3 also get kind of an extra bye. Don't have to play the extra game in Indy, so it's a good setup if you're in the top 3.
Yep, and they're in a good spot, so got to handle business at home and then go on that road trip. So we'll see.
Yep, and so they got Youngstown State, a team they beat at Youngstown State less than a month ago. And hopefully everybody comes out to the Coliseum. What a great crowd for homecoming, by the way.
Yeah, it looked great out there. It looked like a fantastic time. Good crowd. It sounded great on the radio. So big shout out to all the Mastodons fans. Keep coming out and supporting.
About 2,000 fans. Now, Mastodons, mid-majors. Anybody that wants to, debate whether 2,000 is a good crowd. Mid-majors this year, if you're drawing 1,000, you're drawing a decent crowd. If you're drawing 1,500, you're above the median line. Mastodons had about 2,000 at the Coliseum yesterday. That's the kind of crowd they need to consistently have, that 2,000, 2,200, because that would be an overflow crowd at the Gate Center. Gate Center holds about 1,900. That would be an overflow crowd. So, yeah, it was a great crowd. A lot of energy, good student section. Definitely a difference maker, and hopefully they come out on Wednesday night.
Let's go Dons.
All right, man. Tonight we've got the Grammys.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not tuning into that.
I think was it K-pop something?
The Demon Hunters. Yeah.
Demon Hunters. Yeah. Okay. I'll pick them. That's the only song I know.
Let's go. K-pop Demon Hunters.
K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah. Yeah. They'll win something because that's the only song I know. All right, man. We'll see you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you click the bell. That's all important. We certainly appreciate you spending time with us here on this Sunday. And that'll do it for another edition of the Sports Rush. We'll talk to you again soon.